Staff onboarding mirrors the part of the AUSTRAC starter packs that discusses identifying your AMLCTF roles. So many of you who have read the starter packs or are familiar with the legislation will know that in setting up your AMLCTF program, you need to nominate a compliance officer. You also need to nominate governing body and senior managers, and you also need to nominate client-facing personnel. One of the most common questions we get is, does every single person in my firm need to be nominated in one of these roles? And the answer is no. Go and look at the starter packs on how to do this, but they clearly talk about identifying your AML-CTF roles, and that'll give you some guidance on which members of your staff need to be onboarded here and given roles within your AML program. What you can see is that my name is listed clearly in here, as is anyone else who has access to this account. So if you want people to appear in the staff onboarding tab, the first thing you'll need to do is go to the top right to your initials, and from the drop down, click Edit Details, and that will take you into a different screen where you'll click on Users, and you can add people to the account. That will give them access to the InfoTrack account generally, and when you do that, their names will appear down here in the staff onboarding tab. Once they're here, you will be able to onboard them into your AML-CTF program. It's important that you understand the logic for onboarding staff. Somebody who is a governing body down here will have the ability to onboard a compliance officer. The compliance officer will have the ability to onboard somebody who is client-facing only. And you need to understand that the governing body will onboard the compliance officer will onboard the client-facing personnel, and that logic will govern the setup of your staff onboarding. If you're unable to onboard somebody, it's probably because they sit above you in the hierarchy I just outlined. Remembering that logic will probably be helpful in the staff onboarding section. Cool, now let's get to it. How do we onboard this staff? I'm going to use myself as an example initially. You can see here that I've set myself up as a compliance officer and governing body and senior manager. Probably some people watching may be sole traders, and that means that they will be wearing all of those hats, and that's okay. You can set yourself up with the tags that you see here next to me and onboard yourself. Maybe, if you do have one or two extra staff members, onboard them as well. So if that's you, making yourself compliance officer and governing body works as well to onboard yourself and anyone else. In order to actually do the onboarding, you need to come across over here to the onboard button on the far right next to the name of the person you wish to onboard. Clicking on it will bring you into their page. And the first thing you should do is come to this pen just in the top right and click on that pen. And you're going to tick the boxes for the role that you're nominating this person. And then the second thing you should do is go and click the pen next to their name and make sure their email and phone number and name are correct. So when you land on this page, that's the most important first thing to do, is to make sure the roles that have been tagged are correct and make sure the contact details and name for the person are correct. I'm just going to pause for a second. Again, you can pause this video if you want and just make sure for your first person that you're onboarding, those details have been set up correctly. Okay, great. Now that they have the correct role or roles and their contact details and name are correct, you will see the personal due diligence checks required on this person. I'm set up as a compliance officer, which means I need additional checks. I need to have a verification of identity done. I need a PEP sanctions and adverse media check. There needs to be a suitability checklist done on me, which isn't so much a background check as it is a checklist that your governing body will go through and check off and complete to make sure that I am suitable to be the compliance officer. And if I'm the compliance officer, I also need a criminal history check and a bankruptcy check. What's really good about InfoTrack's Compliance Center is that it's the one place to send out all of these checks, and it's the one place to receive all of these checks back and have them stored in the one spot. So that's fantastic. The other thing that's really good is that if you change the roles at the top here, the checks required on the person underneath will change as well. I'll give you an example of this now so that you can have some confidence in the onboarding process. If you see here with Joseph, when I click onboard next to his name, he doesn't have as many checks as I did because he's not a compliance officer. And when I go to do his suitability checklist, there's less things for me to answer to. So the process for onboarding client-facing personnel or governing body is a little simpler than onboarding the compliance officer, sorry. And the reason for that is, again, OzTrack has outlines that the process for the compliance officer needs to be much more thorough. In order to go ahead and onboard Joseph, I would make sure both these boxes are ticked, and I would click order, and I would complete his suitability checklist, and he would complete his verification of identity. And once that was done, I could then come back and click onboard now, and he would be onboarded to the AMLCTF program. And you can track which members of your staff have been onboarded underneath this column, underneath the onboarded column. Once they're complete, it'll say yes, and it will flash green. And that lets you know that that staff member is complete and ready to go for tranche 2. And as you approach your go live date for tranche 2, you should see all green next to your staff in the staff onboarding center, assuming that they're a part of your AML CTF program. That covers staff onboarding. Now, again, you might want to pause the video here and set up a few of your staff members and send out all the required checks and make sure that the roles and contact details that you've assigned to them are all correct. So if you'd like to do that, please go ahead and pause the video and do that now. Okay, great. That completes staff onboarding.